interesting, the experience I had before I had to prepare for this. And I was just writing endlessly and endlessly note cards on making them larger and larger to see if it would help, and writing one-word sentences on 50 sheets of paper. And it was why do I want to go and just spit a bunch of theory out? I mean, if you guys want to look more into it, that's what the theory is there for, but when do we ever get to experience me just talking and just hearing a personal interpretation of my work? So I just want to take you guys down my levels of work and tell you how I felt about it. So this is a painting that I started pre-theory. It was around my freshman year, and before this I had no training in any oil painting, but I was given oil paintings by a professor of mine, and the canvas was given to me. But I think this offers an interesting look into the creative process and the knowledge you achieve before you go into an institution and you're taught to do something a certain way. And the amount of pressure that someone can put on themselves if they really want to learn something. And it could just take you in interesting places I don't think is necessarily taken today. But I started this painting by deconstructing a sunflower. And I started slicing open the flower and just pinning it down in different places, making it warp and turn, and it was on this board. And I painted the flower, I just drew the flower right on the canvas, just to make a painting. But to me, it was too much of a painting. It was I was just trying to make this thing, fake looking at this flower, fake deconstructing it, making a fake process for me to make this, just pretty picture of a painting. And then I took a step back and I just became so distant from that experience. And I got more so interested in the process of me taking this organic flower so out of context and deconstructing into parts just to make this commodified object. So I felt a sudden need to make it my own and give this flower a certain kind of depth and turn it inside out and reveal its inner beauty. So kind of dress it up in a different outfit. Yeah. And it's kind of really just held together by its form. So here's some of the detail. This is a piece where I just really started to get into theory, and it was mostly just a third-party theory. I was looking at the Fibonacci sequence and sacred geometry, and I wanted to see how far I could push a two-dimensional plane, and it was my first time doing printmaking as well. And it was so isolated to itself. It was like production, the hand is so far removed, and it's so much about a layer. And I think that's why I got interested in the layers behind this mathematical process. And it was a farther remove from the process I had before because the taproot painting was more autonomous and more my own. And it was more about this isolated event that you can only experience through me talking about it. But this was more about a mathematical experience, evoking this geometry, kind of basing on that. So this is more so going into the realm of printmaking. This is done on plastic. And I etched inside, I said systems. So I broke apart my process into systems. And first it was I got a sheet of plastic, and I had to etch in it for a series of a day until the form was completely made. There was breaks that I took in between, but it was just about arriving at this end point at the end. And then in the printing process, I just printed it as many times as I could until the ink kind of just disseminated off of the plate. And I was kind of having fun with it too because the silver spheres in the red L shape right there, those were my friends that were just printing in the print lab. And I kind of was just thinking that how we were so, like, we're in art school and we're making these like prints, but we're so separated. And I wanted to like have them just take theirs and ask them like, hey, can I use your like second print? And we ran it through. And it kind of just talks about like meaning and meaning of images and how we seldom know how much layers there is behind images. And how it's interesting how the image is mine, but that they had a part in it as well. Okay, so then I started recently getting into like sculpture. I think out of the fact that sculpture was more bodily for me. It wasn't isolated to the frame, it was breaking through. And this is just done on a wood panel. And I primed the wood panel, it had a crack in it, so it's a found object. And these are like hooks of my grandfather's and just stuff I find around sitting in his garage. And I like this like kind of distance of finding your materials and how you piece them together. And it became more about the synthetic gesture, about gestures that kind of surround the negative space of the painting in a formal way. And I wanted to approach sculpture as a painter would, because that's my experience. So this is just me going around and finding material that just accumulated in my life. I set out to make a piece on fluorescent light, and the other materials just kind of came into play. And the whole piece is balanced. There's no tools that are involved. It's completely balancing on its own. So it can topple over whenever. And I kind of like that impermanence because it kind of goes against the solidifying nature of sculpture. Like the sculpture that is supposed to define time. And it was also like a very human thing for me to do because here I am as a maker, and at the same time I know what I make is never really going to define time. And I think that's, as artists, it's this depth we work from. We're obsessed with making meaning in the present moment, but at the same time, we're trying to somehow record and leave remnants of ourselves here. And even as an artist, you don't even have that opportunity. So it kind of levels the ground between the people of the other day and us. So this is actually a coffee table on top of bleached scrub for the bathroom. So I'm just like trying to put my space, my livable space in like odd situations and in a very formal way. So kind of like me being, it's almost like trading spaces for artists in a way, you know, like I want to visit people's places and mess with it for a spiritual revelation or something. So they're just formal investigations. How far? I like the point of transcendence and the point of toppling over. This is one of my newest pieces that I did using my bed in my apartment. And I was just thinking about how when I go to bed at night, this is the one space where my head is all the time. Like, the one space at each every end of the day, if I don't open up somewhere else, but where my one, like my cerebral thinking can stay, like, I can track it. because I have a lot of revelations and just thinking and just feel really whole when I'm in bed and looking outside. And sometimes I just feel so whole with the bed, like my body just feels so one with everything, and these materials become so foreign to me around me, and you just feel like they could just explode. And you don't know what this feeling is, like, and you don't know how to articulate it. So I just kind of just formalize that. Yeah, here. And everything comes part of the piece. And it's fun, it's active. It's like painting in space. It is. Okay. So I started portraiture recently. And I think it had to do with that disconnect from the previous project, because this is a portrait of my father. And it was interesting because my father hasn't necessarily been around for my art career. And we've never really had like this conversation as to what I'm doing or how are you gonna survive and all that stuff that dad's supposed to do, I guess. And once I started painting this, it was interesting because first it started off so, it was horrible, it was bad, because I was trying to control him. And there was a point where I had to let go. Like I had to let go and I couldn't paint him and bring him into my world. I had to completely let him go and be within this frame. And be within his form, his structure that he has created. And it was like this whole like experience I had with the whole notion of portraiture, to like define time and to take like this physical, emotive feeling outside and infuse it into something that's just completely two-dimensional. But yeah, this is my early works. I don't know where it's going. But I like to see how everything kind of trickles down and into this piece right here. Like how we find ourselves places, and it spans such wide ranges. But I like the fact that I don't have to make sense of it. Because once you make sense of life, then it's like, what else are you gonna do? Like I hate being comfortable. Why be comfortable? You know what I mean? Like it gets boring. Like stay in motion. And I think that's what the contemporary artist is today. It's like you're not making anything new, you're just organizing. Because we have so much information, you're just presenting. You're